All right. We're going to do this thing early today, get it knocked out so you folks can enjoy your day and then I can get on with mine as well. But I am looking forward to seeing what Fanduel's got up their sleeve this week. One of my favorite games of the day lead us off. BYU taking on Texas Tech. Lots of tortillas going to be flying around. Hopefully Bear Bachmeyer doesn't step on one. LJ Martin reportedly is going to be back. He's practicing 53.5 over under in this one, 32 points for Texas Tech, 21.5 for BYU. And I just realized that I didn't put the dag on points and the team totals for the games that aren't on DK. But whatever. Let's just cover these things. So Bachmeyer at 10-3, I'm not going to be super interested. I do not like the idea of him playing at Texas Tech. Yes, he has a massive floor. He scored a rushing touchdown in virtually every game, has a ton of yardage on the ground, throws the ball fairly well. He's got good stack partners, yada, yada, yada. If you want to take shots, you can. He's just not going to end up being a favorite play for me in this spot. Bayron at 8-1 is interesting. He's not running the way he used to run, like sneaky running. He's got to be hyper efficient, but he has the capability to be hyper efficient. We have not seen BYU have to play any stud offenses as of yet. I think you could sell me on that. Now, granted, the rushing and those types of things, he's going to have to throw for 3 bills and 3 touchdowns, and that means you're probably not buying into the run game in that sense. See, FanDuel got the pricing right. I would say even it should be 93 Williams, 9K Dickey, but that pricing's correct compared to DK, who's got what, 78 and 5? Like, no, like here, this is good pricing. I'm going to have a hard time playing either one of these guys. Dickey's more likely to score. So in a FanDuel setting, I probably prefer Dickey because you don't get extra bonus points for the catches. LJ Martin, not super intrigued by, but like I mentioned, he is expected to play. He's been practicing. I'm not super interested. Now, granted, if similar to Bachmeyer, right? Like if you look at his stat lines, it's just highly consistent, huge floor. But consider the teams they played, right? You're talking Stanford, East Carolina, Colorado, West Virginia. Arizona is probably the one team that's close enough. And then Holy War, I don't think I can take serious because it's Holy War. Like weird stuff, man. That's just an odd game. So I don't, that's a game where you throw the records out the window. I just don't think you can consider that one. So like, I think Arizona's probably the toughest test they've faced all year, but that's not saying a lot. Texas Tech is like 3 levels ahead of Arizona for my money. Arizona's not bad. Arizona improved a lot from year 1 to year 2, but not enough. Similarly, they did a nice job. Caleb Douglas is the clear best option for Texas Tech. If I'm stacking Morton, it's usually going to be with Douglas for the fact that I trust him the most to score. He's their best outside threat. I think Eakin's not playing well right now. Flat out, he's just not. I think you kind of would mix and match shots there, but I like Virgil personally as a player. And then Terrence Carter got a good amount of targets last week too. So I would say Terrence Carter is the guy that I'm going to have. I have the most interest in out of the bunch as an individual play. As a stack partner, I like Carter and Douglas as your 2-man stack. Or you could end up on Carter Virgil if you really want to get risky. But Roberts and Kingston are the only two options for BYU. They're priced up a little bit more than I would like. I do like Roberts. He's a little bit more of the deep play threat. He's priced a little better on DK, but in this sense, Kingston's not a bad play. But even then, they're priced up a little bit more than I would prefer, given the matchup, we'll say. All right, let's look at Georgia taking on Mississippi State. Georgia's obviously favored in this one. Got a healthy team total. I do not expect a big shootout here. Shapen, I mentioned it. He came out for some Kamario Taylor last week. It's not like you're going to be able to play Kamario Taylor at 4,400, but Gunnar Stockton needs to be I would say he needs to be in the pool because he has the rushing upside. He runs more than he gets credit for. But I just don't know that I'm going to be in on any of this Mississippi State offense. So Bothwell came back last week. Let's see. What was his touch count last week? 12 carries, 25 yards. The explosiveness wasn't there. I anticipated that because of the ankle issue. One catch, 39 yards. That was good to see. Him coming off that ankle injury, man, he scares me. And then Booth just took a nosedive. I mean, he got lucky because he had 2 touchdowns, but otherwise he had 13 total yards on 8 touches. So I think you're out on both. I know that Georgia's defensive line is not nearly what it used to be right now, which is mainly because they did a terrible job in the portal deciding who they were keeping and who they weren't. And a lot of the guys that they didn't keep are now just very good players on other teams. So they just made some bad roster decisions for my money. Now, if Mississippi State's been getting gashed on the ground. So I think it's worth taking shots on either Stockton with a wide receiver, and we know who that is, or I think it's worth taking shots on one of these two, Bowens or Frazier. At 6.7K, I'm willing to take risk on for that because I'm going to be able to pay for some of the higher end stuff that I'm going to end up liking here. I think it's Bowens. The touch counts have not reflected the ability. And outside of the Bama game, it hadn't been particularly pretty. I think they're going to have to start leaning on this kid more. He's too explosive. Like, you can't have a guy run 9 for 70, 10 for 61, 15 for 70, 12 for 120, and then you just don't give him work. Like, how in the world did he only get 4 touches against Auburn? Auburn, good run defense, but I don't particularly care what anybody did. Like, how is Nate Frazier getting 10 totes? Nate Frazier hasn't been as efficient as him in any game this season. It's not close. So Chauncey Bowens needs to get the rock more. We talked about Nate Frazier in the offseason that we were worried about his fumble issues. They have not subsided. He's still early career Tiki Barber. He's going to have to work on that. You already know if you're playing Gunnar Stockton, you're playing him with Zach Branch. 7.3K. He is getting an insane amount of targets, 10, 8, and 9 catches each of the last 3 weeks. That's absurd. Double-digit targets and almost double-digit catches every game. On DK, he's a stud play because of the catch volume. At 7.3, I'm open to it. If he had been like 8K, I'd be less interested. He's a very clear top option with daggone thing. With what's his face? Gunnar Stockton. 1 second. I gotta freaking turn this thing. Shut this door. All right. So, yeah, top option with Gunnar Stockton, very clearly Zach Branch. I don't think you can trust Dylan Bell. I'm not the biggest Dylan Bell fan. He did get 5 targets last week which I do like to see out of him because he has the big play capability. He's just infuriating. I was really hoping it was going to be Noah Thomas. And he caught a touchdown, so I guess I was technically right. But he's just it's Zach Branch show, and that's it. I'm not paying $9K for Brennan Thompson. I'm not paying 7.7 for Anthony Evans, not in this matchup. So they're out. If I'm playing this game, it's either through the running back, through Chauncey Bowens, or through a stack of Branch and Stockton, and that's it for me. All right. Indiana taking on Penn State. Indiana obviously projected to kick the living snot out of Penn State. I don't know how Penn State's getting 17 points. I said, how are they going to get to 10 last week? Well, they did because they fumbled and got there. Mendoza, I'm probably going to avoid Mendoza this week. Even at 11.6, it's a reasonable price. The floor's fine. The ceiling's not. I'm probably out, but it's going to kind of depend on the other pricing. He has a ceiling. And we saw last week, like Penn State cannot defend the deep ball. They apparently do not understand that you can or are allowed to put two guys or a guy over the top. And if they do, those guys have cement. Like they were wearing ankle weights or something because they were not covering anybody down the field. Heck no on Roman Hemby at 8.8, and heck no on any Penn State running back because this defense is really, really good against the run. You could talk me into like Kalon Black, but I'm not going to. I'd rather play the Georgia guys. So Indiana, I'm out on the running backs. I'm not playing Elijah Surratt off of a hamstring injury being day-to-day. 0.0% chance at 10K. EJ Williams, if you were going to double stack, I would do it with EJ Williams. Williams is going to get more work in this week. But I will tell you, if Surratt's out, I need to look into who takes over that role. I will be interested in somebody at a cheap price tag. I think it would be Jonathan Brady, but I would need to check on that. If Surratt's out, I'm going to find out who the replacement is. That's a hell of a name, LeBron Bond. I like this guy already. That's the best name in the country. That's right up there. I'll give you all a fun fact for the day. Louisiana Tech had a wide receiver 2 years ago. Best NIL deal of all time. He had a deal with an AC company in La Tech or near La Tech up there. And it was with an AC company because his name was The Coldest. So that was legit. That was really good. That was a great NIL deal. Cross promotion right there. So if I'm playing anybody in this spot, I don't know that I can pay for him and not stack him, but it just feels like, especially if Surratt's out, and given the context of what happened to this Penn State defense last week, giving up deep shots to Ohio State one after another, I think Omar Cooper makes a ton of sense to get loose deep. A ton of sense. So if there's no Surratt at 9,900, I do have interest. I think EJ Williams is a fine play, but at 69, I wouldn't be as much interested. I'd be more interested if Surratt was out. I would be interested in somebody, whoever is the replacement for Surratt, which I'll be able to find out during the course of the week, which my guess would be Jonathan Brady. Jonathan Brady, I'm pretty certain came from Cal. I seem to remember him at New Mexico State. Maybe not. He might be at I feel like he went New Mexico State to Cal to Indiana, but we kind of get a 6 degrees of separation deal here with all of the transfers and trying to remember all of them. He did come from Cal though, so he has experience playing with Mendoza, which is, he's catching touchdowns. So I think you can get there with Jonathan Brady. If Surratt's out, I'd be interested in Brady or Charlie Becker. Becker could be the guy. I'm not sure who would replace him though. So, but at 5K or 4,900, I would love that, especially if I go Mendoza doubles at that point. Yeah, sure. Highly interested in that. All right, we were 11-6 on Mendoza, right? I'd rather just pay the 11-4 for Julian saying that they're trying. Ryan Day's trying to get him a Heisman. I got the blade, like I've mentioned in most shows. I keep having a blind spot for Ohio State. So not this week. Daggone it. So this is the week they're going to fail. So I would suggest you don't play Ohio State. I'm going to play all of the Ohio State Julian saying doubles because I haven't been doing it all season. And I think now's the time that they're going to finally fail. And I'm going to be all in on it. I can't help it. So it seems they're unstoppable. Bo Jackson, I'm never going to play CJ Donaldson. I can tell you that right now. Bo Jackson scares me. I feel like there's going to be a week where he gets 15 carries, 150 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and it just hasn't happened yet. The floor is incredible. I just don't know what the ceiling. I know what the ceiling is. I just haven't seen it. I know it's coming, so I feel like I'm just going to kind of keep taking a shot here or there. I don't love him at 8K, but I'm willing to keep him in the pool just because I know that it's in there. Garrett, oh my goodness. I would 1,000%, if you're playing one of these guys, play Jeremiah Smith over Carnell Tate. I know Carnell Tate keeps producing. He just keeps producing week after week after week in here, and it's paying out. And one of them is going to have a big game at least, if not 2, if not both of them. I prefer Smith for 800 more, but I will have a Smith Tate saying triple. I'm ignoring Purdue completely. Ohio State, I'm never going to play anybody against them until we get to like a very small slate of games. Texas A&M taking on Missouri. I think this thing ends up being a defensive battle. I think that Missouri plays keep away. I want to see what Zollers did that game. I know he's starting. There's nobody else. There's nobody else. Yeah, I mean, he was 14 of 23 in that game. He didn't know, he didn't know he was playing. Yeah, I mean, 4 rushing attempts for 4 yards. I don't know. I don't love Zollers. I'm not paying 12K for Marcel Reed. I get it. There's going to be plenty of people who do. He's run the football pretty well. He's throwing the football pretty well. He's got passing weapons. But we kind of saw what Pavia did against Missouri. Missouri's defense is underrated, underlooked. I overlooked, So I like that Missouri defense. What they're going to do with Zollers is they're going to drop him and just hand the ball off to Ahmad Hardy 20 plus times. He's not going to be efficient with his volume. I don't know that the ceiling's necessarily there. We know that A&M did early in the season struggle really heavily with the run game, stopping the run. And Drinkwitz, this is a big moment for Drinkwitz, right? Eli needs to have a big game here and prove his mettle in this spot. He's an offensive guy. I really do think A&M struggles with Missouri on the road here. And I'm not going to pay 12K for Marcel Reed. Maybe that's my Ohio State blind spot this week. Maybe it is. I don't know. But I'm not going to play him. I'm not necessarily interested in Reuben Owens at 8.3. I'd rather play Bo Jackson at 8. I'm not particularly interested in Ahmad Hardy at 9.8. Like, this game just does not sell me on anything. The only person that I have moderate interest in is Mario Craver at 8.8. And it's the same as on DK, right? I feel like Craver has the capability to blow a game open on any touch. So I'm open to taking shots there, but he's not a guy that I'm going all after, I wish you could figure out like these. I mean, if Bo Pribula was here, then sure, I'd be interested in like secondary Missouri weapons, but not with a backup quarterback. I just think this game is played at a massively slow pace and not much happens. Oregon taking Iowa. Talk about slow pace. Iowa's going to want to grind this thing to a halt. Oregon rightly should be favored. You will look at the stats and see that they struggled with Wisconsin. I still think that had more to do with the weather It was all weather related. It wasn't anything to do with Wisconsin. Actually was shocked that it wasn't him. Who was it who came in for? Was it Brock Thomas? I think Brock Thomas came in. Yeah. So Dante Moore like broke his nose. Brock Thomas came in. Not quite sure why. I think maybe it's because what they're trying to do is save Austin Novosad's yeah, they're trying to save his eligibility. So they want to be able to use him down the stretch if they need to. Because what they're doing is they're trying to buy time. So they didn't want to use him last time out because they knew they kind of were going to have to run the football and win that way. And then they'll use Novosad if Moore has to miss games. Novosad's going to start. So that's what they're trying to do is preserve him. I doubt I end up on Moore at 9.4. This is just a nasty boy game, you know. Gronowski at 9, not really that interested. Davison and Whittington are too expensive in this spot. DK, I'm taking shots. Here, not so much. This is just too much. If they were in the 6 to like if they were in Chauncey Bowen's range, then sure, we'll take shots, but not at this. This is too much. I can't do that. Corey and Moore, meh. Sadiq's got a good price tag on him at 6K. I would have interest there. He is a very. Why is Evan Stewart listed as questionable? Holy smokes! They're saying Evan Stewart could come back. If you get word Evan Stewart's coming back, I'd be interested in taking Oregon futures. Because they're missing an outside weapon to pair with Decorian Moore and Kenyon Sadiq. Sadiq's been banged up. Moore's just a freshman. So, like, if they got Stewart back to replace these crappers that they've had on the outside with Jeremiah McClellan, Malik Benson. Malik Benson's trash. I mean, just trash. This dude should not be on a football field starting. So, Evan Stewart would be a big one. I think Sadiq's a decent play at 6K. He's always live for a 2-touchdown game, though. And what better way to take it on with take on a Iowa corn-fed team than use your tight end like that? All right. So we had the false breaking news the guy had to address from yesterday. Josh Hoover has not had thumb surgery. Even the coach had to talk about it. So I'm glad that at least I got duped by a guy who actually has legitimate sources. Apparently he jammed a thumb. Still BS. 10-6, I'm much more palatable price tag here on the duel than on DK. I am interested in that. I'm going to be interested in playing some of this game just because this is a game that I would have liked early in the year, and I'm going to like it now. Rocco at 9.2 does have some interest. He does have rushing upside. He does have the touchdown equity around the goal line. Has he played well the last 3 weeks? Not particularly. I mean, that 311 yards against BYU was stout, but last week was not pretty. 18 of 36, not quite good. Colorado stat line is just pitiful. So I'm more interested in Hoover by a mile. Hansen, probably not for me. Yeah, probably not for me. I maybe end up going that direction later in the week. I'm going to have to consider Kavorian Barnes. Interesting. All right. I'll just read up on this one because I've been off Kavorian Barnes all season. Everybody and their freaking brother jumps on him for the Baylor game. He gives me the blade, and the next thing you know, he sucks again. Like, what the hell, man? That's nonsense, dude. Now Trent Battle's over here getting touches. Like, that's so frustrating. That is so infuriating that I thought Kavorian Barnes sucks now. Haven't played him all season. Everybody plays him the 1 week that I'm just still like I'm standing 10 toes down on this thing. And then he gives me the blade the 1 week, and then next thing you know, he's back to sucking balls again. Golly, that's terrible. McAllister, man, for the price tag, I just prefer the Ohio State stack than I would McAllister and Hoover. Dwyer, minimal interest. Minimal interest in Dwyer. I have more interest in Sowell. I can't quit him. He had 11 targets last week, guys. Like 12 targets, excuse me. He caught 50% of them. He keeps taking he just keeps getting freaking targets, man. So I'm gonna keep buying into that. I don't mind buying into Bramer either. Oh, he was carted off. Okay. Well, okay, well, we'll have to keep an eye on that one. Bramer's been playing actually fairly decent, catching balls, catching touchdowns. I'm in on Sowell. I would be open to DJ Rogers, but not that interested. It's going to come down to, it'll be interesting to see, like, is Manjack healthy or is Ed Small healthy? So if Manjack's out and Small is good to go, I would have interest in Small. He's coming on strong later in the year. I do have a ton of interest in Sowell at 59. And otherwise, I have minimal interest in Dwyer. Just, there's some guys I have some interest in this game, but not a crazy amount. Now, Kansas, Arizona, I feel like can shoot out. I don't know that it will, but Fafita is interesting. They're just a very difficult team to stack. A very, very, very difficult team to stack. I do like Jalen Daniels. He's played awful lately. Don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted. He's been terrible, just like Rocco. But the beginning of the season, I still think it's in there. I mean, the biggest concern is what happened against Oklahoma State. Like, that's not a good line there. I'm less concerned about Texas Tech, Kansas State lines, given those relative things. But I don't know. I do have interest in Daniels, but it's more game stack than it is anything else there. Sean Williams are still splitting work. Riscano's the lead back here, but I don't trust it. I don't know. I might end up not liking this game that much. I like Hudson the best. That's not close. Okay. So that is a benefit to us on FanDuel here is I do not like Watley and Spivey at those prices. I was hoping they were going to be in the 5s or low 6s. So, like, I would have interest in Spivey, but Spivey's got he's basically a catch a week. So he's got to deliver a long touchdown on it. He has the last 2 weeks. But at 6.8, there's 0% chance I'm ever taking that shot. I'm fine playing Spivey if he was like 5.2, 5.5, something like that. Like, I'm willing to take a chance there. Watley, similarly, it was all like rush volume. I have more interest in Watley. I would rank them Hudson, Watley, Spivey, guaranteed, because Hudson at least gets volume. So I have interest in Hudson. Hudson is very clearly the number one in this spot. I do have interest in Emmanuel Henderson. I know outside of the one big Cincinnati game, he's been absolutely atrocious. Still, he's the number one wide receiver. Bowden Grown, maybe. Maybe I'd be interested in Bowden Grown at 5,900. I would prefer Chase Sowell at the same price tag. Chris Hunter, very difficult to play him. Just not particularly good. Cam Pickett at 57. I don't know. That's just tough, man. That's tough. Yeah. I don't love this, but Hudson's the very clear top option in this game, particularly. All right, Syracuse gets to go get blown out by Miami. There is no way Syracuse keeps this thing even close. Joseph Pilardi might have been the single worst quarterback performance I have ever witnessed in my lifetime. 4 of 18 passing for 39 yards against Bill Belichick's North Carolina team. Honestly, Fran Brown might have lost the ability to be the head coach anywhere else upon that performance. Luke Carney, he's good. He's set to redshirt. I love that they announced he's set to redshirt. But yet they gave him 3 carries against North Carolina. Why didn't you just play the kid then? What's the point of giving this kid 3 carries if you're going to redshirt him? Either give him starts or redshirt him. It's one or the other. But you should have given him 3 starts, not Filardi over here, who is one of, if not the single worst quarterbacks to have ever played college football. I mean, that's just... Good Lord. I mean, Syracuse, just go back to Ricky Collins. Like, you cannot go anywhere else with that. Carson Beck just smacked us in the face again last week. Refused to play Carson Beck. 9.5K, no thank you. I think that they could be highly efficient in this game, but I don't know. This we need to monitor. So, Mark Fletcher got hurt against SMU. I didn't think Mark Fletcher was going to be particularly good in that spot, so we'll see. If Fletcher's out, this is the biggest injury on this slate. Let's be honest, because if Fletcher was in facing Syracuse, I'd be all in on Mark Fletcher. I would want as much Mark Fletcher as I can get. Now, if Mark Fletcher's out, I'm going to be all in on Shamar Brown. So the transfer from North Dakota State, 1,000-yard rusher as a true freshman last year, guy I really wanted to see coming into this week. But man, if we could get this kid on a full, look at what he did to Florida. 18 for 80 with 2 tuds, 4 for 53 through the air. I like this kid. His role's decreased, but it's coincided with Fletcher's role really increasing. And they've been using Fletcher more and more. So I wonder if they sit Fletcher down in this one. Lyle could easily get more work. He's going to get more work if Fletcher's out. But I still think that the backfield goes through Shamar Brown. And at 6,500, man, that would be, if Fletcher's out, this is an easy plug, play, lock him in. Do not think twice. Don't even move it whatsoever. Like, they're going to blow the snot out of them. I think Fletcher ends up not being utilized because of the issue. If we know he's out, though, I'm going to build a lot of my teams around the fact that Shamar Brown is available. And what I would tell you is to have contingency plans to make a decision Saturday morning. That if you don't have any Fletcher news, maybe we'll see another player in that 6,500 range that we could go to. I mean, technically speaking, you could just swap to Will Nixon if you had to. Will Nixon, decent enough player. He's not going to get you a 0. But if we didn't have news by the 11 o'clock games, because what I would do is start building. So like start building tomorrow or the next day. And then once you get the news, you could leave 200 on the table and switch to like a Chauncey Bowens in that spot, a Georgia running back. And that's an easy pivot to have the same lineups constructed. Now, the question is going to be is, okay, what is our pivot options? You could make it so that you could pivot to Kavorian Barnes. If Barnes is playing and active and all those things, that's another pivot option. So that's another way to play that. Let's see. I mean, we'll end up just working along as we go, but I'm looking for as many options to pivot to at that 6.5K range so that I can play Shamar Brown in that spot as much as possible. Same thing. If I'm building with Fletcher, I'm going to look for pivots for sure. All right, wide receiver wise, Malachi Toney probably a hair more expensive than I would like. Josiah Trader, no shot I'm playing. So Trader got hot early in this game. He had a ton of targets early, ton of catches early. I was salty at myself that I went a little heavier than I wanted to on Josh Moore. That didn't really work out. When CJ Daniels was announced out, 0% chance. As soon as Trader dropped the ball and it became an interception early in that game, they stopped throwing to Trader again. So Trader's a no-go, especially because he's the second highest priced wide receiver. That's no shot. If let's see, so the Daniels will likely be out. Okay, so Daniels is going to be out against Syracuse. Okay, cool. So Daniels is going to be out. Tony's the lead option, but I don't particularly love that at 8,900. I think Trader does see the field, but I'm going to say that I would prefer Keelan Marion at 5,600. He was on the field a lot more than I expected. I'm in on that. That is a great price tag. I do have a ton of interest there. You could get some Miami in very easily. Tony Johnson was on the field some, but I'm not super interested. Josh Moore was on the field some, but he was kind of just there running wind sprints. Elijah Lofton actually played okay and was in the game, but at the same time, not particularly good from a production standpoint. I think it's Marion. Tony's in play, but too expensive. So I think Marion's the best punt option we've seen, and Shamar Brown's the best punt option we've seen at running back. I doubt they end up using Fletcher in that spot. Still going to be keeping an eye out for 6,500 or less running backs back here that we're interested in. Pavia at 11-2. I think you kind of have to give a nod to the fact that you feel interested in Pavia. See, this is that Missouri line, like 12 points. They just played keep away. I think they try to do that to A&M, and they can in that spot. We don't know who the heck's playing for Auburn at quarterback. Vandy's okay on defense, but still operating as QB1. Okay, so, I mean, Daniels sucks. So just ignore. Like, just a full ignore. I'm not going to play Cam Coleman, even at 6,300, not with Ashton Daniels at quarterback. No. I want to. I'll be honest. I'm going to keep him in there. And I have a problem where I have to play Cam Coleman shares. I probably will play a little bit, but I'm going to tell you not to, because I think that it's just a bad play. I think a lot of people will go to Stowers. That was the first time Stowers has popped off all season. This is a traditional Eli Stowers pops off out of nowhere line. This feels like a game where they try to run the football. Jeremiah Cobb, man, that's a reasonable price tag. $7.6 is fair, man. All right, I have interest in that. I don't have interest in the Vandy backs. Man, Auburn has a good defense. I think there's a non-zero chance that Auburn wins this football game just on the back of a run game and the defense playing well. Keldrick Falk is a nasty boy. I like Cobb. I think there's a non-zero chance that Cobb runs for 100 yards and a touchdown. Daniels runs for 50 yards and then throws one touchdown on 10 completions, and Cam Coleman gets 50 yards and a touchdown. Like, I think there's a non-zero chance that all those things hit. So I have minimal interest in Cobb. I have minimal interest in Coleman, and I have no interest in any of the quarterbacks necessarily. I think Pavia is in play, but he's just so expensive, and I'd rather play Julian Sayin in that spot. I know the rushing upside, though. All right. Wake Forest traveling to take on UVA. I do think Wake is live for the upset. The sad thing is that Deshaun Purdy and Robbie Ashford are splitting too much reps. If I knew one was going to play, I'd have moderate interest in them. But they're just splitting everything. So Ashford would be my preferred guy who, if he was playing, but neither one I think you can trust. Wake Forest is okay on defense. Chandler Morris is doing fine from a yardage perspective. He's just not getting the touchdowns. So, like, he had five touchdowns in each of these two games, and he scored a ton of points. But the difference is every other game he's had one or less. So I kind of worry about Chandler Morris. I think you can take shots there. He's just not my favorite. I mean, we're kind of running out of favorites at this point. I think maybe Hoover so far and Sayin. And then I probably prefer Bayron to Morris, but both would be in play. And I think Stockton. I think it would be right now. My favorites would be Stockton, Sayan, Hoover, maybe Fafita. I think Fafita maybe actually at 11. Fafita's expensive, but he might be worth it. He has no rushing upside, man. Maybe I'll end up on Pavia. We'll see. But yeah, this is weird. Weird quarterback slate. I don't really want to pay 10K for Jamari Taylor. He's been highly inefficient, but he's just scoring. Super high floor. I think you have to keep him in the pool. He's probably one of the better top end running backs on the slate. I was right that Kendrick Raphael was a better play than Jamari Taylor, but it was a 50-50. Like I said, they're both great plays. I love Damon Claiborne. Great player. Profiled it before the season. I think 20 plus carries each week. Well within the realm of possibility. UVA's run defense, not particularly great. He's been banged up in a lot of these games. He was very much so hurt a ton early in the season. I know he's live for this Georgia Tech game anytime he steps on the field. So if he's healthy, I know he had 14 carries for 27 yards. It's Florida State. Florida State has a lot better defense. Man, I'm heavily interested in Damon Claiborne in this spot. If they win the game, and I believe they can, it's going to be on the back of Claiborne, and Claiborne getting 20 carries for 100 plus yards. We saw what Kendrick Raphael was able to do last week. If I liked Raphael, I'm going to like Claiborne. I'm buying Claiborne. I think Claiborne's a great play at 7.2. A great play. He'll probably end up being a core play. Shamar Brown will be. I know that. Just based on the fact that I think that Fletcher's going to be out. Terrell Harris probably a little bit overpriced at 7-1. He played pretty decent last week, but like we said, you saw what Chandler Morris is doing. He's not really throwing touchdowns. Chris Barnes, best wide receiver they have, but man, they suck at throwing the football. They do not have a passing quarterback on the roster. Micah Mays was hyped coming into the year. I'm not paying 7K for a Wake wide receiver. I'll pay 7.2 for my guy, but I'm not paying 7K. No doubt about it. That's an easy way to be able to get a lot of guys in. You could go with Claiborne, and then you could get the Ohio State double stack. That'd be easy. Cam Ross, not terrible. Jamal Adreen, there's worse punt plays. Sage Ennis actually been getting decent. I feel like I see him every time catching the football on the field. I don't know why, but he just seems to. Oh, my old buddy Carlos Hernandez, former Washington State, came over Jake Dickert. So the real question is going to become, what is Cade Klubnik's price? Because I'm going to be interested, irregardless of what it is. If it's over 10K, I'm still interested. It needs to be over 11 for me to have any pause. If it's 10.5 or less, I'll be highly interested. So, okay, so it's more. I bet you it's 11.8. I bet you it's 11.8 because he was so highly owned. Oh, 10.8. Okay. Klubnik now vaults to my second favorite quarterback on the board behind Julian Sayin. I prefer him to Gunnar Stockton. There's just much more upside and much better stack partners for Klubnik. I still think Florida State sucks, but the likelihood is they are able to score some points because that's kind of what the offense does. I'm not a Castellanos fan, but big game. His floor is so good. It's kind of hard not to like it. And like we saw what Mensa did to this defense last week. A Gus Malzahn offense can score on anybody. It's just, it can also lay a dud. So I'm interested in Castellanos because these numbers are actually not bad. And he has good stack partners. And I like the floor. I think 25 points is fine. He'll get me there. And I have no problems with it. I like Klubnik a good bit because I know he's going to get me there. And he ran the ball okay, considering he was coming back off the ankle injury. So I prefer Klubnik to Castellanos, but I don't disagree with either one. We'll have to see how open Spirit Halloween is in there. I don't like what they're doing with their running backs at Florida State. Sam Singleton got 14 carries. I don't know. He got like Sawchuk got 2 touchdowns. I like Sawchuk. How much wood could a Sawchuk chuck if a Sawchuk could chuck wood? So I would have interest in Sawchuk at 6.8. They don't like Chroma. He just he looks slow. He looks like he's moving in slow motion. Now, one thing we did, I prefer to avoid this backfield more than likely. If I was going to play anybody, I would just stick to Sawchuk. I know he's going to get work, but I don't particularly want to play any of them because Clemson actually is a good enough run defense. I'd prefer to play the Florida State passing attack in this one. Adam Randall has finally started to seed work. Now, he scored 2 touchdowns last week, and Duke's run defense is pretty stout. But he had been looking terrible for the last few weeks before then. Include like from UNC on, the run game has been stagnant, and then they found it against Duke, which was nice. Randall at 9.5, I'm not super interested in. Gideon Davidson finally started to see more work. So 16 touches for Davidson is by far and away his most amount of work. He actually looked pretty good compared to Adam Randall. I expect Davidson to continue to take on more work as the season goes on. I'm not super interested in their running backs, though. So the ball bounced Antonio Williams' way. He can easily get these monster target games. He's going to continue to be heavily targeted. It's a question of how much does he get open and does he score touchdowns? He scored 2 touchdowns last week, had 142 yards. I'm not super into him at 9,200. I would be more interested. I mean, I'll play some, obviously, because if I'm going to play cheap running backs, I have the ability to get to expensive wide receivers. I still like TJ Moore. He didn't get a ton of targets last week, which was concerning. He was on the field. He's your deep play threat, though. And it just takes one from him. Last week, he had that 72-yard touchdown for, that's all it takes. It doesn't take a ton for him to get there. And at 8.1, I'll take shots. Tristan Smith was on the field a ton. I'm going to love this play. At 6,100, on a points per dollar basis, he is the best option of the trio. He was playing the Bryant Wesco role on the outside, and he got volume. By comparison to TJ Moore, Tristan Smith got a ton of volume, and he is a big-bodied freak. I love him. So I will definitely have interest in him. That is for sure. Now, from the Florida State side, I get the Danzy idea, but I would personally play Deuce if I was playing the bring back. It's Deuce Robinson for me. He's getting the most target volume. He has the most upside. They're going to lean on Deuce in this spot, and that's where I would go. For me, if I was playing anybody on the Florida State side as a bring back, it would be Deuce. The Deuce Castellanos combination, I don't hate whatsoever. All right, Florida taking on Kentucky. I still think Kentucky's live in this one after Florida kind of emptied what they had against Georgia a week ago. Lagway at 7,200. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not interested. I'm just not interested. I don't know that I'm going to get anything out of it, I just haven't seen it. Kentucky's defense is pretty solid. I finally jumped off the Carter Boley train. It worked out. I was on him for there. I don't love him. I don't hate him. I like him more than Lagway. And what does that say? I don't know. Jaden Baugh, I will always be in on. It doesn't matter what the matchup is. He's so good that I can't not be in. I have no issues. If you want to pay 9,100 for Jaden Baugh, I'm willing to play Jaden Baugh. Florida's a tough matchup. It doesn't mean that I'm not minorly interested in McGowan, but I don't love McGowan. There's just better options. Um, Kendrick Law at 6.4, probably more expensive than I want to play. I don't hate Eugene Wilson. He's clear top option in this offense again. Now that our guy Dallas Wilson is out for the season, this is just an ugly game. I'm not trying to take a lot of this. I would rather play some of these earlier games. No doubt about it. I think we can. Let's take that one out. I actually am interested more in that as my cheap plays. All right, LSU, Alabama. So here's what I will tell you. I wish we would get word that Nussmeier was not going to play. Because I'm not playing Nussmeier. There's no way. Even at 7,500, coming into the season, if you told me Nussmeier's 7,500 against Alabama, I'd tell you he's a lock. But not now. He's too banged up. Something's wrong. Simpson, I don't particularly want to play either at 10-2. His rushing is minimal. Against this LSU defense, I think it's minimal. So, yes, he probably throws a couple touchdowns, but I don't know that overall it's not a good matchup. If you told me Van Buren was starting, I would love it. I think Van Buren is a massively good, talented player. I don't think he got enough credit for what he did last year at Mississippi State. I thought he was one of the most underrated pickups in the portal. And I just hope that he stays after this year to be the starter, because I actually do believe in Van Buren. That's just my Van Buren spiel. That's where we're at. Also, congratulations to Verge for being named the athletic director full-time. Like I talked about on the show the other day, one of the best people in college athletics that I've had the pleasure of working with. Very happy for him to finally get the opportunity to be a full-time AD at LSU. He had plenty of opportunity to go other places to do so, but stuck with it, refused to go anywhere else, and finally got the chance. So, Jam Miller, no shot. Not at 8-2, never going to happen. The LSU running backs, hell no. They can't do anything. Daniel Hill, explosive, but probably not against this defense. He would be an option if you went Shamar Brown and you got word that Fletcher was playing. Then yes, you could switch to Daniel Hill, and I would probably prefer that to be my swap if I had to, because of the explosiveness. You're going to kind of get 5 to 7 touches, but he has the ability to get you 10, 11 points in that spot by comparison to, let's see, what do we have? Else, you have like Dante Dowdle. Nope. We're looking for swaps here. Davison, if you could get to Sawchuk, then I would. Davison would not be my choice. No. Maybe. No, I'd prefer Daniel Hill to McKylan Young. Not Mahdi. Yeah, it would probably be Barnes 1 if I know he's healthy, and Daniel Hill 2. Barnes, I think, gets more touches. So if I was having to make a swap, let's say 11 o'clock games are already gone, I can't get to Chauncey Bowens. Bowens is my favorite. But let's say I can't get to Chauncey Bowens because the games have already started, whatever. I think your best swap option is Kavorian Barnes off of Shamar Brown if it's announced that Fletcher's playing and you want to wait it out, or going to Daniel Hill for sure. Let's see. Hey, look at that. They finally know what they're doing still. All right, good. Jeremy Bernard is the top option in this offense for me. If you're playing the double, I would play a double stack with Simpson. He's going to need volume. Bernard's obviously going to have to be somebody involved in it. Ryan Williams, it feels like a lost season. I don't think I want to go here at all. I'd prefer Bernard. I prefer Horton to an extent. It says he's expected to be available. I mean, he kind of scores every week at 6,400. It's fine. Trey is too expensive for my money. I mean, he's playing great. Don't get me wrong, but I don't necessarily want to pay for that. Aaron Anderson should be fully healthy. I probably have the most interest in him out of the bunch. And then otherwise, I'll need to see whether, I'm open to taking shots on Latzia Brooks or Rico Scott. But more than likely, it'll be Brooks. That's the one. I would prefer him to everybody else, certainly, because of he gets more volume. So let's see here. Let's just say I'm going to do Julian Sayin. I want to see what Julian Sayin with the double. What do I end up with? Oh, that's kind of fun. All right, so you can do that. You can do the double and still get a quarterback. I mean, you could do Jeremiah Cobb. I don't think that's unreasonable to go Jeremiah Cobb. I'd prefer to play a quarterback, though. That'd be funny to play Nussmeier in this spot. Ashton Daniels, not a terrible option, but he's going to get benched more than likely. I mean, you could go Lagway here. You could go Cutter Boley. I think you can get up more at quarterback, but I think there are quarterback options down here based on what we saw. So I would say you could get the Bayron for 500 more. You could come off of Tristan Smith. Tristan Smith is a great play, but getting off of Tristan Smith would be fine. Going down to, let's call it 5,600 to get the Bayron. So, I mean, optimally, you'd be able to get to Terrence Carter at 59. But yeah, I'll find ways to do it. You don't have to play Damon Claiborne. You could probably go cheaper somewhere else. We can play through it though, but there's a lot of ways to play through it. You can easily make this work though. Easily make this work. To have 7,600 left and there are viable quarterbacks down there. I mean, I think you could definitely go with Lagway if you wanted to, or you could go with any number of guys. You just kind of pick your poison at that point. There's plenty of stacks though. Plenty of stack options for us to play around with. Actually, you know what? The best play would be, let's just say Surratt's out. I mean, that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of ifs, if this, then that. Let's say Surratt's out. I would come off of that Tristan Smith play, even though I think it's a great play Jonathan Brady, and then now you got 8,800 for that super flex. Bang. Like now you're hitting a little bit more. You get like the Chandler Morris range. So like, let's just say you play Chandler Morris in that spot. I think that's more where I would want to be if it was possible. So, you just got to kind of wait and see. We need to wait and see on a few of these news and notes, but very viable slate to be able to play some doubles, especially the Clemson stuff. I'm going to play a lot of Clemson doubles. We got value. We've got upside. Should be a fun one. It's not a lot of teams that I want to play a lot of doubles on, which is good for me because then I can not spend too much money. I'm trying to limit my play on Fanduel to an extent, minimize my thought process a little bit more and try to figure it out. So we'll see what happens. Best luck to everybody on this evening slate. I almost had the freaking nuts last night. I was one guy away, basically. So tonight be another fun slate, and I'll be back tomorrow with my player pool for DK. So I will see you guys then. Y'all have a good one.